I think we will get this meeting started. Looks like the attendees are leveling off now, and I want to respect everybody's time. Well, I hope everybody had a great holiday, and now we're back in the swing of things. Had a good break. As usual, I'm joined by a few members of DLI, including a member of my team, which is Angie Andreessen. She's the BA for the project, and she'll be able to help facilitate and answer these questions, as well as I know we have Mike Hill and Joanne Jacobson on the phone that will, be able to help, answer any of these rehab-specific questions. This answer hour is recorded, as they all are, and will be available for folks that want to come back and look at it after the fact. We do ask that people do put their questions in the chat. That helps us be able to monitor the questions, then we will answer them as they come up. With that, we'll get started. To the next slide. The agenda today will be the same style agenda as we've done for all of our answer hours. We'll talk about the release we just had last night, and we'll talk about any known issues we know of, and we'll have a Q&A session, and then we'll talk about the upcoming answer hour session. I would like to say, we get a lot of value out of this, and hopefully you get a lot of value as well. So please make this conversational. Feel free to throw questions in the chat at any time. When we get a few of them in there, we will stop and start answering questions. So some of the things that have been fixed for rehab providers is, data pulling into RCRs, when you're on certain transaction types. There was some folks that was having some issues with that. Firm not updating upon the R3 submission, and that is now happening. The inability to access R8 drafts. I think we've gone through every form now, and all forms. We've tested with the external community that everybody can access drafts of every type of form. So that's a good one. That was the last one. So we're glad that that's now happening. PPR's not showing as complete in the R forms tab is now happening. And then, rehab support staff unable to see QRC, files for the interns. This is one that, we have fixed a number of times. If you're still having support staff that are associated, not seeing things, please let us know, because we want to look and see if there's a group issue at that point, because we have fixed that. And then automatic R form emails still sending. So that's one that we've taken care of for you. We know that there was some data missing from the that was never entered from the legacy system, so it was populating emails sending out saying you're missing things when maybe that was not the case. So we've stopped those. All in all, I'd like to say that with the rehab community, with your help, and many of you that have got on the phone with us and have done, lots of time sharing screens, sending us examples. The rehab forms are all working. Rehab groups are all working. Both legacy and new filings are all working. So the rehab, everybody should be able to access and be able to file your forms now. If there's still a question of some cases that you should have but are not showing up in your cases because they're legacy cases and we were not able to match them, please reach out to Mike Hill, and he can assist you with that. And let's talk about the next slide, Angie. Yeah. So one thing we've been seeing throughout the system is an intermittent document upload failures. It's interesting because we test it with people and the same type of document, the same size, same type of case, it's working, and then somebody else will have this issue where it won't upload, it's giving them an error. with this, if you're experiencing this, please contact our help desk. Let them know the problem, your ID, who you are, and the time that this was happening. We might need to reach out to you and talk to your IT staff or anybody who's dealing with your firewall, because we found that some folks do have some firewall issues stopping the documents from uploading. But we want to make sure that is the case and not something else, because we do, like I said, it's when it's intermittent, it's not as easy as just solving it with, we know what the problem is, because we really don't know. Like I said, we have some guesses, but if that is happening, please contact the help desk. We have some intermittent failures on our forms and disputes. Again, it seems to be a little more random than what we're seeing, where somebody wasn't able to fill out a field on a form. We could go into the code and fix that. This is something, again, where it's on the submission, and if you're getting this, please reach out to help desk. Give them that information so that we can start tracking it down and figure it out. Okay. And then incorrect firm displaying on some cases, in some instances. This is something we're still working on that has something to do with the legacy data that was migrated over and how we chose to map it. So we're currently working. Angie, do you have anything to add, or any questions that are out there?
Yeah, so we just had one question regarding the distribution of our forms. So the question was just, I would like some feedback on how the distribution option should work. I've been reluctant to use it and would like some feedback. So I think just a little bit more context on whether or not that's required or what it actually does.
Okay.
I can provide some additional feedback. I can provide that.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Yep. So essentially, when you are submitting your R forms, you do have the option that you can distribute the document through campus. So on your RCR, it's going to be a requirement that you need to serve it to the parties. But after the RCR, you essentially shouldn't need to distribute those again after you have already distributed them. Like if you've already created your document, distributed it, and got your signatures, uploaded it to campus. So you can opt to distribute it again to the parties that are related to the file, but you can also elect not to. So it's kind of just your preference. I know most of you are already distributing them ahead of time to get your signatures and then are just uploading those signature pages. So if that's the case, there's no need for you to distribute it again through campus. If you want those folks to have a copy of what was submitted in campus, you absolutely submit it through campus as well. So it's kind of just an added feature, something that some of you may want to use, others may not. It just kind of depends on your preference. All right, a few other questions. I'm just going to move forward to that slide. How long does it take for case status to move from open to closed? The R8 was submitted on 12/22 and the case is still showing as open. So in that instance, the status that you guys are seeing is going to actually be the DLI status, which is a little bit confusing. I believe that would change after it is reviewed on our end and determined that it is closed. I don't believe that there is a specific time frame with that, but that is the DLI status. Just so you're aware, if you see that it is still showing as open for some reason on your end, that doesn't mean that we didn't get your R8. You can always check and make sure that the R8 was submitted and accepted. That would be available in your Documents tab or in your R Forms drop-down modal as well. So those won't automatically change to close when you file that R8. That is the DLI status.
Angie, the department should not have to approve an R8 closure that's been filed in campus.
I don't think it's approving an R8 closure. It would be just moving the case status. So Mike, we can discuss that offline if necessary. If you want to send an instance, Sue, of that our way, we can take a look at it. We have the RT number. Next one. I submitted the spreadsheet for missing cases on December 16th. How soon will that list be reviewed? We still have a few missing cases. One of our cases migrated from the old system and it was a closed file on an old date of injury. Our current case is a new date of injury on the same person, but was open long before the go live date. How should we proceed to get the link to the newest claim? So Mike, I'll let you speak to the spreadsheet regarding missing cases.
Well, as far as I know, all the cases have been a link that can be linked, and or the QRC or the firm has been notified that either they need to file like an RCR because there is a claim there to establish that link, or they need to contact the insurer to file a FROI so that there is a claim in the system. Now, if all of that has occurred, then certainly recontact us with your new spreadsheet as to which files are still problematic, because then we need to look and determine what else may be going on.
Thanks, Mike. So on the second part of that question, I think was regarding just a new date of injury for a file that you've handled rehab on before, but it's a different date of injury. So in that instance, you should just file your RCR since it was post go live. You'd want to file your RCR and use the claim information for the new file. Usually you should be able to file with the date of injury, the last name of the employee, and the last four of the social. But if for some reason you're unable to get that information, you can touch base with us. We may be able to provide some information so you can locate that file. Next question. Are there some issues with campus today? We keep getting booted out after less than a minute. I have not heard of any issues. So if anybody else on the call is experiencing that, that would be good to know. But I don't believe there's anything that should be kicking you out. Okay, I'll take a look at that. I see another person is experiencing that as well. Next question. Is there a plan to create a different tab for closed cases versus keeping them in my rehab case list? So I don't think we currently have a plan for that. I know we have some documentation or some documented feedback on that, but I will add the possibility of adding another tab or even just adding the ability to filter out your closed cases. I can make a note of that. So it looks like quite a few of you are getting booted out. So I will take a look at that and see if there's something on our end that could be closing that, or could be causing that. I'm sorry. This is the first I've heard of it today, so I will research that. For missing files where no FROI has been filed and we have requested the insurer to file a FROI multiple times, but they still have not filed the FROI, what do you recommend? So Brad, I might need your help with this one. In this instance, I think we can request that the insurer files the first report of injury if it's statutorily valid.
Yeah, I mean, the department can make the request.
What we have told QRC firms with respect to missing FROIs is that certainly the QRC can contact the insurer to request that the FROI be filed since there's already a QRC on the file. Certainly the employee is able to file their own claim through campus and can seek out assistance from the ADR unit to learn how to do that, using their personal computer. The employee's attorney, there are some firms out there that do a number of files with attorney firms. The attorney can certainly contact the insurer and make the request that a file be FROI'd. And certainly the attorney can see about contacting the ADR unit to determine how the attorney can file a FROI on the employee's behalf.
All right, hopefully you all can hear me. I apologize, my audio just dropped. So I'm hoping that you all can hear me as I reconnected. I'm gonna keep going through the question list. So the next one is, to be useful, forms created and saved as a draft need to be viewable and accessible by both QRC and support staff, regardless of who creates the form. Can this be fixed? So that is new, that would require new functionality and new development. That is something that we have heard from a number of firms. So it's definitely documented. Brad, I'm not sure if you want to kind of talk a little bit to the process and how we address that feedback with this group, just to explain when it's new functionality, what is kind of required.
Yeah, right now, so, of course, we want to take the feedback and we start to prioritize the feedback for all stakeholders. And, so we can do enhancements in the future. Currently, we're always just focusing on right now getting to stabilization before we start adding more functionality in the system. With the rehab folks, we've gotten to a point of stabilization where we can start looking at enhancements. But we also want to make sure that, our insurance partners and the legal community and employers are also at that same state of stabilization. So we then can do an evaluation and start to do enhancements. So, we are taking the feedback, we are starting to prioritize it, and we will start doing new releases. But right now, the focus is on just getting people trained in using the system correctly before we start adding functionality.
Next question. I was told to send an email to the help desk if I was not able to get a FROI filed, and the compliance team would reach out to the insurer. Is that not an option? Brad, I will have you speak to that if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'm not in CRT and Mike is. I think we need to check on that and maybe send out a communication to everybody of how to get FROIs filed, because I do believe there is an obligation department to assist in that that request. So I will work on that.
Thanks. Next question, what do we do if a client does not have an attorney or a computer? So I assume that you're talking about filing the first report of injury. For injured workers, it is still acceptable to mail or fax in their first report of injury. So if they don't have a computer and they need to submit a first report of injury, they can mail it to the department. We do still accept mail from employees. To clarify, we've submitted RCRs and unable to do an R2 because it is not yet linked. FROI, and once they file it, the claim should be in the QRC case list. So in that instance, we would still need to link the claim to the case, but that would at least establish the claim in campus. It could then be linked to the claim in campus or the rehab case. All right. I thought there was a previous release that allowed us to file the R2 on an unattached claim, but I am not able to file an R2 on an unattached claim. I believe that that is the case. It should tell you that we are still waiting for a claim. Who does the linking of the claim? I believe that compliance does that. Brad or Mike, do you have any additional information on that?
Yeah, I understand that Mike Hill has been heavily involved with linking claims. Just the rumor.
Okay, so you can submit those. They should be able to submit those through the help desk, and then I believe they'll get routed to you, Mike. Is that correct?
If it's a situation where it's a missing claim, it's best to go ahead and use that spreadsheet that was out there and send it to the help desk and copy myself because attachments don't always are not necessarily able to be submitted to me from the help desk.
Okay, thanks, Mike. If campus populates incorrect data on a form, such as a date of injury that we cannot edit, should we go ahead and submit the form anyway in order to meet required timelines? So I think in that instance, you would want to submit the form. Essentially what we do is we use the data that is associated with the claim. So if it's an instance where you're not sure if the date of injury is correct based on the claim that was linked, you can certainly send that to the help desk. We can route that to the correct people to research. But if it's a situation where the insurer just has a conflicting date of injury, I believe you should be able to continue to submit. Otherwise, what you can do as well is you can submit with your date of injury, I believe, if you use the claim shell process, so if you don't link to a claim. Either way, it'll get linked to that claim. But if the date of injury is incorrect, the insurance company or the claim administrator would be the one who would make that change. All right, next, I've sent general feedback about the issue that when logged into the dashboard and moving back and forth, everything has to reload, which doesn't take a lot of time, but it's frustrating to have to start over, especially when working on our form that hasn't been saved. Yes, Kayleen, I have that one logged as a feedback item, so that's something that we're looking at to make changes to in the future. The help desk has been responding and asking us to forward emails to Mike Hill. Also, if sending encrypted attachments, the help desk says they can't forward them to Mike or Angie. I will look into that. I don't believe that that wouldn't be the case. But
That actually is the case, Angie. If they send an encrypted email to the help desk only, then only the help desk can open up that encrypted email. They cannot then forward it to me.
Okay.
And if they did forward the encrypted email to me, it's still on their side to have to go through the email process to get the passcode, etc. So that's why the encryption problem going to just the help desk doesn't work.
So should they copy you in those instances where they need to send the files, Mike, and send encrypted?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Next question. Are there plans to allow R2s to be submitted without the IE narrative, which can then be submitted later? I'm not sure what an IE narrative is. Mike, is that something that you're familiar with?
The initial evaluation report should always be attached to the R2 and filed with the R2 at the same time. So no, don't do it separately. Attach it to the R2.
All right, thanks, Mike. If we have already sent an email to Mike detailing the issue, should we just be patient or should we follow up? I'll let Mike speak to that, but I believe he's fielding quite a few questions, so it's possible that it just may take him a little longer to get back to you. Mike, I don't know if you want to speak to that. I don't want to speak on your behalf.
If it has been a while, and by now your claim should have been linked. So again, it may be an issue of whether you need to file the RCR or there's a missing FROI in there. I would try those two options first. If you've tried those and the forms are still missing, then you can certainly contact me. I will let you know that there will be a delay in my processing that because my energies are going to be focused more on logging bugs in the system.
Great. Thank you, Mike. All right. I don't see any additional questions, but I will keep an eye on the chat. So I just want to look quickly at the Campus Central page. So this is the page that we cover every single answer hour. I just wanted to run through and show you all where the release notes live on this page. So this is where you're going to be able to find most of the information about campus. Your release notes are always going to be right underneath, and we do put these in chronological order. So you can see here right now, we have the December 22nd release notes. That was the last release that we did. We do not yet have the release notes for last night's release up, but those should be added to the page as well soon. But this is where you're going to want to go to look at those release notes. We did cover what was in that release for rehab providers during this call, but it's just a good point of reference if you are unable to make the call for some reason, or you just want to see some additional information. I'm going to go ahead and go to our schedule page. And before I go through this, I'm going to check the questions quick. So I currently have a ticket with the help desk to fix our forms populating a QRC's home address instead of work or corporate addresses as listed in the contacts tab and the QRC staff and interns tab. How is this fixed? So
Angie, I believe that what the QRC needs to do is they need to go back into their portal for their QRC information and make sure that it's reflecting the correct information. You can certainly go ahead and have the group administrator go and look at that and confirm that, but that would be the first steps. And if there's still problems, they should certainly be taking snapshots and letting us know exactly what they're seeing.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. Next question. R3s are inconsistent in showing boxes 20 through 22. We've only seen it once. Why does it show sometimes and not others? Mike, I think I'm going to have to defer to you because I'm not familiar with what those boxes are.
Certainly, and what that has to do with is the plan progress report. And I believe you're probably referring on the R3s. And what they have currently is that there's a 15-day window prior to the expiration, i.e., remember that when your R2 is filed, that a plan progress report is due 6 months after it is filed. So the way the system was set up was to follow the rules, which talked about filing the PPR form 15 days before the expiration or 15 days after. So if you're outside of that norm right now, you're going to be grayed out and not able to use that. So it's a pretty precise thing. We're looking at a possible design improvement to extend that window. But in the meantime, you can certainly go ahead when you are closer to the actual 6 months is to go and file a plan progress report separately from the R3 so at least that you've met your rule requirements.
Thank you, Mike. Next question. Are there any plans to extend the 21 days that a draft is saved to a longer time frame? I've lost and had to redo forms several times. I've found that you have to make a change in the form in order for it to resave with the current date. So my understanding is that you should be able to open it and then save it as a draft again, and it should update your date. I can look into that on our end, but I believe we do already have that feedback log, just something to consider for the future. I know that there may be some security with that as well. Next question. If I had started a draft of an R3 outside of the PPR window, will I need to delete and start a new R3 to have those boxes show? That is a really good question. I'm not sure. A lot of the time what happens is that those drafts are going to reflect the day that you initiated the filing. It'll reflect the data that was true at that time. So it's possible that you will need to do that. I will see if I can test that on my end, if I can figure out how exactly to replicate that scenario and provide some additional information. Files that were a change of QRC are still showing the old QRC firm, but the correct new QRC. Is this in the line to fix? Yes, that's something that we have on our radar, where in some instances it's just not updating the firm information. So that there's an open item surrounding that. And that was, I believe, in our earlier slides as something that's still outstanding. Bobby, you mentioned that it lets you resave R3s, but not R2s. So again, I'll see if I can replicate those scenarios and see exactly what happens with those drafts. Mike, I think this one is going to be for you. To confirm with the new rules changes that were passed in the special session, do the QRC intern supervisors now not have to sign the QRC interns R forms? As in having the QRC intern plan of supervision is now satisfying this requirement?
And the answer on that is, I hate to say 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. It certainly is going forward with any new interns that the supervisory plan needs to discuss the fact that the QRC intern supervisor is responsible for all of the documentation that the intern is doing, and that they are going to review that documentation, of course, prior to any submission to the department or parties. We have one question of existing QRC interns that are out there, and whether that will also be able to make that change for those. And I don't have an answer on that. That's a little bit above my pay grade, but we are looking at that question right now.
Thank you, Mike. Was there anything decided regarding admins signing R forms on behalf of the QRC? So I know that I have put in an item maybe to change it. So it says on behalf of, but Mike, as far as the rules go, could you just clarify that one again?
Certainly. And yes, admin can go ahead and sign for the QRC on the R forms. And the reason that is covered is if you folks who are nerds on the 5220 rules, that's covered under 5220.1801 subpart 9E, where anybody who is working under your direction, you are responsible for them. So that part is covered.
Great, thank you, Mike. The first screen when initiating an R form shows a random claim number, but when you view the final form, the actual claim number shows up, but it is a gamble until then. Are you aware of this? Are you able, Bobby, to send some examples of that? I've not heard of that. So if you could send some examples and screenshots, that would be great. And then Amy, to answer your question, I've logged a feedback item so that we could possibly add that on behalf of to the signature line for those admins. I know that's something that's come up. So that is logged as a potential future change. We don't have any plans to implement that right now, but it is on our radar. All right, so it looks like we are at the end of the questions for now. So in the meantime, I'm just going to run through our calendar for January. So right now we have this week's answer hours. Next week we have some specialty answer hours. This group back in December mentioned that they didn't feel the need to have a separate admin answer hour, so we've rolled that off for QRCs. The plan for these is going to be that we're doing them at biweekly intervals now rather than weekly intervals. So I am planning to work on these today and hopefully get the next round sent out to you all. So we will keep these at this time slot on Fridays going forward, unless there is a state holiday or something of that nature, or it's just not an option to hold them on Fridays, but for the most part, we will continue these on this Friday cadence. Based on what I've seen today, it seems like these are probably still beneficial for this group, but any feedback that you all have for us, if you'd like us to keep scheduling these, please feel free to put that in the chat, and we can definitely take that away for consideration. So with that, I think we are at the end of the slides. Mike or Brad or anybody else, do you have any other comments?
I just want to say thank you to everybody for giving us your time and for giving us this feedback. It really is makes the system better. I do have an ask. I believe a few of you said you were getting kicked out of campus, booted out. Can you maybe throw into the chat approximate times you were experiencing that? Just so I can, I've already got the developers looking into it, but I would like to see those times just to make sure we can confirm if there was something going on with Microsoft at that time. Other than that, I just say thank you to everybody. This is, you know, a lot of patience and a lot of hard work from you all to get us to this point. And I think you see that we do take your feedback and we do listen to you. So we will continue to do that and make this a better system. All right. With that, I say I think we can adjourn. And I got some times coming in there. I will work with the developers on that now.
Great, thank you, Brad. Thanks everybody for attending. Thank you for helping with the questions today, Mike, and providing some answers. We will plan to talk with you all in a couple weeks. Have a great rest of your day and a great weekend.